It's World Series time. I'm so gosh darn excited. My things are all packed up. My car engine's ignited. No degenerates around. Professionals abound. It's a true competition. I don't want to mess around. Everyone knows that this time is special. No one can tell you the days go by so fast. Well, there goes Tatty Tats. Everybody's neck goes spastic. What's up, Poker Cat? You look fanny-pack-tastic. The Amazon's so lively. I'm looking out for Ivy. If you stake me in the main, I'll sell some pieces. Someone buy me. Everyone knows that this time is special. No one can tell you why. Let's go to the moon and some super satellites. Sell some jars in the hole by the bathroom lines. Kessler's vouchers, $3 you can eat tonight. World Series time. Man, I can't wait to go. It's so far on ESPN. How can you bet you can afford to see yours events? Let's get 160 something out of World Series time. Hey, Sherry, how are you doing this morning?
Good morning. I'm doing terrific. Thank you. How about you?
I'm great. We're having a good morning. Just running around, getting ready for day 7 here. Heading into day 7. It was nice. Last night I was able to watch a lot more of the coverage. Being back home and able to not be in tournaments or anything yesterday, so it was nice to actually catch some of that. Man, what a night that was. We'll get to that. Yeah, really, really cool. So today's events, just want to jump into these just up at the top. Do you want to go through them? Or you want me to?
You know what? Why don't we just popcorn off of each other?
Sounds great.
Let me pull up. I'm going to pull up the screenshot I have of the list.
I'll go ahead and do the first one while you're doing that.
Go ahead.
Starting at just under an hour at 10 a.m. is the 600 No Limit Deep Stack Day 2. So if you're not headed that way, like we've talked about, make sure that you get going because you don't want to be late for a day 2. Day 1, okay, that's all right, probably. Although I will say that if you've bought in advance and you're late, they're going to be blinding you off. So
100% that stack is in play, people.
Yeah, keep that in mind.
Event number 13, day 1, $600 PLO deep stack starts at 10 today also.
Yep, and then the event number 3, the Mystery Millions, is day 3 of that, and that's going to kick off at noon today.
You know what? You're looking at a different list than I am, so keep reading. I'm going to go get that list.
Sounds great. I've been grabbing them from KevMath, and actually I want to pin. I usually have been pinning that to the space here.
That'll be great. Then I don't go have to hunt it.
Yeah. So 1 p.m. is the 10K Dealer's Choice 6-handed championship. That's going to be day 3. And they're getting down to the end of that. We'll talk about that pretty soon. At 4 p.m. is going to be the 5K No Limit 8-handed freeze out. That's going to be day 2. And then at 2 p.m., the 10K 7-card stud championship gets kicked off. So that'll be a field of killers for sure.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, so let me go ahead and post this to the
thread so that we have.
That'd be awesome.
I always like to tag Kev Math because that's where I get my information, a lot of my information from. Um, and the guy definitely deserves every plug that we can give him. So
Absolutely. And speaking of plugs, I brought it up the other day, yesterday or the day before. My days are all running together. That there was a suggestion made by Brian Micon, that we tip Kevin Mathers the first time we see him at the WSOP this summer. Brian suggested $100 bill, but you know what? Any amount is going to be received graciously by Kevin for sure. So, he does a lot for us. So, if you have a few extra bucks you can spare, I'm sure he would appreciate that tip.
and I mean, the money is great, but and that's definitely what you should do. I'm not saying not to do it, obviously, but
Right.
the interesting thing about Kev Math is that you're exactly right. The $100 is great to do, and don't want to discourage anybody from doing something very generous like that. But really, you're right. Like literally, anything is a good thing to do, because when I was talking to him about the Hall of Fame, he even said, "Yeah, I wouldn't win, but listen, like, yeah, it would be, a
An
huge
honor.
honor,
Yeah,
a
of
huge
course.
honor." And so I know that, like, just that recognition from him, everybody, like everybody that does nice things, like, it's a nice way to say thank you, or whatever you can do just to be a positive person, for people. So let's get to the goings on of yesterday. WSOP event number 3, the Mystery Millions. Like we said, that's going to get back going at noon. But yesterday we played down to 30 players.
Right, out of
Yeah.
18,188 players, we're down to 30 remaining players.
So think about this. They eliminated over 18,000 people in 2 days of play. Like, that is
Crazy.
a lot of
Crazy.
work. And I didn't see, Sherry. Do you know? And if you don't, this won't be like we do those gotchas on Sean McCormick where we
Right.
make it like. But do you know, as far as what bounties have been pulled so far? Maybe Raj has it in front of him. You
You
can
know
say
what?
it if you do.
Kevin Maths put it up. Here, I could pull it up if he doesn't know.
I
But
think I think everything's been pulled last I checked, maybe except for maybe there's a 250 remaining. But yeah, Sherry can confirm that.
Yeah, so that's two $1 million prizes, a 500,000. Was it one 500,000
yes, and one 250
and one 250
and
left?
three 100. Okay, these are what were available. He hasn't posted, or I don't see a post. He may have, and I've just gone over it. Um, which ones have already been pulled?
Yeah,
So we would actually have to go through the feed and just kind of eliminate them ourselves. I know that there was at least one of the $1 million ones pulled.
Both
yeah,
Was the
both were
second one
yeah,
pulled?
both were pulled.
Okay,
yeah.
so the $2 million ones are pulled. How about the 500,000?
Yep, that was the first big one that was pulled yesterday.
Okay, so that one is gone. So then, you know what? We should have started a tally for
Was the
ourselves.
lucky winner of the 500? So there was a 250 pulled, and then yeah, I would have liked. It would have been nice if they would have ended this
Okay,
article with what's
let
left.
me just say this to you. On the WSOP Twitter account, 14 hours ago, it said that these were the bounties that were left. Now, of
Okay,
course, this could have changed a little bit.
sure.
It said that there was one 250 left, one 100,000 left, one 50K left, six 25Ks left, four $5,000 bounties, seven $2,500 bounties, and 125 $1,000 bounties. So, of course, those have all been, let's see if we can find it. Those have all been changed because we're down to 30 players. So we know those numbers have changed.
Yeah, for sure. And then 30 players left. Chip leader is Guang Chen with 64 million. And the
Great.
current payout, what was this? This was an $800 or $1,000 buy-in. I can't remember, Raj.
Thousand.
A
$1,000
thousand.
buy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that has a current payout of 32,000. If you're able to make the final table in that group, 96,000 is for
Guaranteed.
it would be guaranteed at that point with a $1 million up top.
Now
I
I
should
just kind of
I should say Sherry, like, these are unofficial numbers as much as it's
right.
as I don't want anybody calling me up, hey,
Right.
you promised anything. Like, I'm
Right.
sorry, you're on your own, my friend. We're just
Right.
we're the
And
unofficial source. So
I kind of wanted to point out in the top 30, the other day I talked about two women still being in the top 100 of that tournament. And one of the two women is now number 12 in chip stack sizes. She has 25 million, and that was Lisa. And I don't know how to spell or say her last name. Her last name is XIE, and I hate to mispronounce names. So
Z.
Z, okay.
Yeah.
She's got the 12th biggest chip stack with 25 million going into today. So, and another notable is Dan's Shack is in the 24th stack
He's
size with
he's last,
14.
right?
He's got 14.3 million. So he's number 24 out of the 30 in chip stack
Oh,
sizes.
okay.
So yeah, and
Is
guess
he
what?
in
Dip
is
in a cheer.
maybe he's in two events? I don't know. Crazy. I thought I saw him in another event, but maybe they've updated this
Right.
since I looked. I bet that's what happened because he's in 25th out of 30. Yeah. So that'll get going here at 12 o'clock, and definitely don't be late to that with 30 people left. Um,
And the bounties. You don't want to miss any bounties at this point.
one thing is, if you're there, if you're at the World Series and you're deep in a tournament like that, um, I would say that um, you may want to consider seeing if you can get a room for the final days and things like that, because
Right.
then you're just not even, that you're cashing for 30K, splurging for a room there like can't be
Right.
worth, you know. And I know, the one year I did pretty well in the main event, there was somebody that was, I don't know if they officially can do this, but like some of the floor people back then were able to help me get in contact with people that could help me get a room and stuff like that. So while I was focusing on playing instead of
Yeah,
that.
and
So
they're pretty, the WSOP and Caesars properties are pretty good about, making stuff like that happen for, those that are involved. And you have to give them props for that.
yeah.
That they
Well,
know what's going on and they're willing to help with it. So,
while they juggle everything else. So
right.
yeah, so WSOP event number 9, the $1,500 7-card stud wrapped up yesterday. I watched a lot of this last night, and unfortunately Sean Deeb went out in 5th. Fortunately or unfortunately, that's probably a pretty good run. $1,500 buy-in, cast for 32K. In that, Andrew Hasdal played really well against Nick Schulman, heads up, but Nick Schulman, taking down his 4th bracelet, played really well. Fate, was really in control and lost a big pot at one point, and then immediately got it back. Just played very well, and it's interesting to see, how some of these top pros kind of fare in these heads up situations. So
And I'm going to
um
tell you, and I told you guys yesterday, I'm a big Nick fan. Like, I'm
yeah.
all, I really am. I love to listen to him in the booth. I think he's hysterical. And, I admire his poker play. I mean, this is his 4th, win. How exciting is that?
Yeah, and event number 10 is heading into day 3. Now this event, everybody thinks that there's a story here about this guy Evslage.
Yeah,
He,
Chad.
Yeah, Chad Evslage. He's going for back-to-back dealer's choice events. He won the $1,500, I believe. Sherry, that's correct?
That's the one he's still in. He's still in the
No,
15.
no, he's in the 10K right now. So
No, I thought he was in the 1500 dealer's choice
He
with
he won
13
the
left.
he
he
won
won
the
that.
15, yeah, and then now he's in the 10K.
Yeah. So he's
Oh,
in.
Yeah.
got it. I got him mixed up. Okay,
So
that
you
was
got it right
yesterday.
there, Raj.
Thank you.
Chad. So Chad won that. He's currently the chip leader in the 10K with 13 players left. But listen, I'm going for my tag team partner in 11th place, Dutch Boyd, 256,000. He's got some work to do, but I'm pulling for him to take it down for sure. He's a mixed games beast. I really love that guy. He's a great person. And then second to Dutch, I would say would be our friend Ari Engel. He's in fifth place with 767,000. Obviously, in this thing, like a list of killers. So not an easy path to the bracelet in this one, if it ever is if there ever is an easy path, right?
All
So
right.
Speaking of Chad, Brian, he's having quite these last 6 months. He took down the WPT 5 Diamond, I think, back in October. I think he
wow,
got second or third in the Hollywood Hard Rock 3,500. I think a month after he took down the WPT, and now he's got a bracelet. So having
Amazing.
that
the
is,
last 6 months.
yeah,
Hats off to him.
that's great. Yeah. And so that gets kicked off. Day 3 for the 10K Dealer's Choice Six-Handed Championship gets kicked off at 1 p.m. And I'm going to say it every time. Don't be late to day 2s and days 3s. Um, and then the next event here is, so that was event number 10. Event number 11 kicked off yesterday, the $600 no limit Hold'em deep stack. And in that event, we had six, this is a crazy number, 6,000 entries yesterday in that
Crazy.
event. Like they've got to be shattering all records this year, Sherry.
100%.
Unbelievable. Okay,
100%.
so 318 players remaining after day 1, and they're headed to level 22, which is 10 and 25,000 blinds with a 25,000 ante. And in that event, Kevin Daly is the chip leader with 1,915,000, followed closely by Garen Zobian with 1,780,000. And let me look here. This one I think was the one. No, this one isn't that one. But just really getting into the part where there's going to be some serious money at play. Let me see what the min payout is. Do you guys have that in front of you? I have it. If not, well, actually, this is going to be super long.
Now, I've been to the doctor this morning, so I didn't do a lot of research this morning for you. So sorry, pal.
No, it's good. And I keep meaning to send you the thing that I put together, so that
Okay.
you have it in front of you. But anyway, okay. So 318th place did not report their chip stack, but the next payout is, well, this shows the 40. I'm sorry, guys. Let me go to this page.
You're all right.
The minimum person has 47,000. Let me go back here. 960 was the min payout for 912th place, and they are already up to 300th. Oh my goodness. And then I'm going to go up here and see it's right at the top here. Next payout, yeah, 343rd place, $1,702. So I promise I won't do that again to you. They have this little thing that tells you all the stats, and I went off of that to swing down
You
to
are
the other
doing
things. Oh
great.
my goodness. 318 remaining, 6,000 started, level 22, $1,700 they have locked up so far. And then going to, now let me get back to the real thing where it shows the top prize is going to be 351,000 in that event. So so they'll be playing that today and getting that field whittled down seems like pretty quickly.
I'll tell you, good luck to everybody that's going on to day 2 and those that are starting day 1 today. Good luck.
Yeah, and then event number 12 is the $5,000 no limit hold'em freeze out. That's entering day 2, and that starts at 4 p.m. today.
I have that at 1 p.m.
Did you have it at 1? Maybe
I have that
I
at
might
1
have it.
p.m. with 148 remaining. You said the 5K no limit freeze out, right?
Yes. Okay. So we'll go with your
It
thing.
says 1 p.m. 111 will be in the
Yes.
money, and there's 148 remaining with Artem, and I don't know how to say his last
Arta
name.
Metalidi.
Yeah,
Metalidi.
thank you. He has the chip lead at 796,000. Our pal Josh Aria is the 16th biggest stack at 436,000. And there are no women in the top 50 left in that tournament.
Yeah, and that will be really crazy. So the other thing that happened yesterday is Doug Polk went for it in the heads up tournament, the 25K, the head K tournament. There we go. The 25K tournament. Um, and he fell short. Unfortunately, he had a hand where he got a bluff in on the river. He was playing really well, and by really well, I mean like he was getting a lot of bluffs through, and that sort of thing. And then he finally found a hand where Chandrasi Kuhn had, like middle pair, and Doug tried to shove the river and did not get that one through. And so he was able to take over the chip lead at that point. I think it flipped things to where Doug
He
had
got the mo.
Doug had like 2 million and the other guy had 6 million, and then he just really couldn't recover from that. But your top 8, obviously you don't get to the end of a 25K heads up without having like a ton of skill. So pretty well known names. Chance Kuhn comes in first. For 500,000. Doug Polk took down 313,000. Chris Brewer and Sean Winter both with 192,000. Robert Perez and Anthony Zeno with 74,000. Our buddy Landon Tice and Eric Wasserson both took down 74,000 for 7th and 8th place there. So
Well, and I'm going to tell you, the best thing about it was Doug's victory lap in the semifinals.
yeah, I got to mention that, right? So Doug, I mean, it's such typical cooler. They both get their they both Doug gets dealt pocket queens, and his opponent gets dealt pocket kings, and Doug binks off a queen on the river to really cripple the other player,
Chris
and
Brewer.
Chris Brewer. Yeah, I didn't have it in front of me. Sorry,
That's
but
okay.
he took down Chris Brewer with just a sick bad beat. Um, but then he starts running around the stage, giving everybody high fives and falling over, and it was everything that poker should be all about.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, so
Exactly my point. It was just fun. Just plain fun.
So not bad for Doug. He basically recovers probably what he lost
Pretty close.
at
Pretty close.
the Hustler there, and like really solidifies himself as, I mean, if he wasn't already solidified, like how can you argue with his results in heads up play? My gosh, like the guy's just very talented.
For sure.
So heads up is just a completely different thing, than, like I've been saying the last couple days, you can't get to the end of a heads up competition without, really being great at live reads and all of that kind of stuff. So that's the reality of it.
Fun time when your heads up. It is a fun time.
Yeah. So do you want to talk about what happened in the millions last night when you have your sticky note there,
Oh,
up there?
yeah. You're talking about the um, misplayed stacks.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so let's first of all make the public announcement, which, of course, if you've been in our spaces, the last week we've been doing this WSOP update thing. You know that I've been reading, a list of things that you need to take a picture of when you're at the WSOP, which will help you in the long run. And so, for instance, my sticky note, as Brian alluded to, says to make sure you take a picture of your entry ticket so that you always have a copy of your entry ticket. The second picture you should take is of your chip stack before you leave the table for your break, so that when you come back, you can count your stack. And if it's incorrect, you have proof of what it should be to get it corrected. The third would be the table number of before you leave on break. Don't take a picture of the dealer. The dealer could change while you're on break, but the table number will not. So you want to be able to return to the correct table. So take a picture of your table number. The other thing is take a picture of the your car in the parking spot that you parked it in. That'll have the number and location, hopefully, of where you parked it. So when 12 hours later, you're trying to go home, you will be able to find your car easily. And the last thing is to take a picture of all your day 2, day 3, final day slips so that, again, you have a copy in case you lose it or left it on the nightstand trying to rush to, your day 2. But what Brian is alluding to is Rob Kuhn posted yesterday, and I have so many things. Let me try to find it real quick. That they returned from a break, and his stack of chips was gone. And, you know, for anybody, how unnerving would that be to come back to the table after a break and your stack of chips is gone? And I guess what happened, there were actually two people involved with the situation, and and I can't find my screenshot. I'm just going to go off memory. One of which, if somebody wants to pull up Ron Kuhn's Twitter to just make sure we got the facts right, I'd appreciate it. One of the stacks, and it was a gentleman sat down and actually play had resumed, and he had actually played some hands, but he wasn't involved in the hands, and so they were none of the chips on the stack that he ended up with that was incorrect were used or affected. So that was solved pretty easily. They did have to
Yeah.
stop play, and they did have to go to the cameras to verify what the hell happened, right? And
The other guy
yep,
with 240,000 lost his chips as well. No, and he didn't have an update on what happened to the other stack.
right. So we don't know what happened to guy number 2. So, take a picture, make sure you're paying attention when you leave on break of the table number, not the dealer, because what probably happened is, the guy came back from break and he saw the dealer that he had before he left on break, so he went right to that table. And lo and behold, the dealer had moved tables. So it happens often, unfortunately, but it's the player's responsibility. Know your table number.
Yeah, for sure. And that is super important. I wanted to go back to the $1 million bounty. So Patrick Lang won the first $1 million bounty, and then Clint Tavares. Clint actually won the million, and it looks like a 25,000 because he took down 1,025,000.
Nice.
And then, oh wait. Shortly, wait, hang on. I'm sorry, I've got
That's
this wrong.
okay.
Sean Marshlian was the first player of the day to secure the sought-after million bounty, and then Patrick Liang also took down $1 million bounty, but had another 25,000 in cashes
Good for them.
through the
How
bounty.
exciting is that?
And
That
then
is awesome.
And then this Clint Taveri took down the $500,000 gold chest bounty, and then good friend Eric Baldwin pulled down the $250,000 bounty. So cool to see somebody that we all know.
Very cool.
What was his name online? Basebaldy, I think, or something like that.
Basebaldy. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's it. Mm-hmm.
What happened to those days when we all referred to each other by screen names and all of that? The chip leader Chuang Chen with 64 million, and this is kind of interesting that this player Jamie Madrigal,
Easy for you to say.
yeah, 45,200,000 chips. Carried the lead most of the day, and definitely had to be really pretty splashy, was really aggressive in there. His chip stack was swinging all over the place all day long, so excited to see what Jamie's able to do as we get deeper into this.
And he's
um,
he's got the third biggest stack right now.
yeah, Jamie oh my goodness,
Madrid.
Madrigal,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, third biggest stack with Stephen Thompson. Nice, easy name to say. 52 million in chips.
We need
So,
some more Joe Smiths because we are name challenged, and we're sorry, people. But that's just the truth of the matter.
but isn't that crazy? They started off with where is this? I know this isn't right. They start off with 18,000 entries. 1,000 people made it to day 2, and they've whittled that down to 30 players left, with serious money on the line now. I think the min cash I said earlier, isn't it like 30 some thousand?
I
No
thought you
more.
said 35,000, maybe.
Yeah,
I think
30
that's
left. Yeah, 32,000.
yeah,
So
yeah.
top prize again is $1 million. uh Ninth place in that would be $96,100. And this one, mind you, there's going to be a really interesting spot here as we get toward the end, because um, you know in this event, like, you really have to be probably pushing more for the win than you normally would, because as far as like ICM and that kind of thing, because second place is 500,000, whereas first prize is going to be $1 million.
Right,
and that
right,
and that's caused because of all of that money being taken out of the bounty pool. But then also they wanted to guarantee $1 million to first. So last year, for reference sake, second or first place was 750,000. So
right.
basically, if you looked at that, second place in this scenario, 561. If first prize was 750, that's probably a more reasonable jump. But how that heads up match is going to be a $500,000 heads
Swing.
up match.
Yeah.
So
Half a million swing, right? Half a million swing.
yeah,
And,
yeah,
and people did not like the fact that the bounty um, was bigger. prize was bigger than first place prize, so they made the adjustments. But now you're going to wonder and see how many people are going to complain that there's a $500,000 swing there.
Yeah, they can't win, Sherry. Like,
That's right.
people are going to complain no matter what happens.
That's right.
They like it, they don't like it. Some people like it, and I mean, if you get first place, then you're going to like it. But if you get second place, you're not going to like it too much.
Yeah, it's and I'm going to look at it this way. If I run that deep, yeah, I may be disappointed because I'm, one person away from winning the whole thing. But, are you really going to be upset with a $500,000? I mean, come on.
Yeah, no way. So I just posted on the tweet this. Nick Schulman's winner's photo there is the greatest winner's photo of all
Awesome.
time,
With
I
his
think.
feet up. I
With
love
his
it.
cigar in his mouth. And Sherry, they were saying he's ripping off that that guy
Oh,
Cuz that.
Stephen Buckner. Yeah, he's a
Yeah, I'm
friend of mine.
like, okay, come on. I remember Amir Vahid's family begs to differ with you.
Or even what's
uh,
the other guy? Sammy. He was
Sam.
a
Yeah,
cigar smoker.
yeah, but I think he did cigarettes, didn't he?
Oh, he
Didn't he
did
have?
cigarettes all the time, but
He,
I think he
yeah.
did cigars once in a while too. But it doesn't matter. Who cares?
Yeah, I know. It
Who
was just.
cares?
I'm sure it was just for fun.
People
So
that are even bringing it up, like, get a life. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's a great picture.
yeah, it's
It's
a
an
good.
awesome. The other picture they did of him just sitting
Yeah,
at the table with the cigar or whatever. That was a
yeah. I
great
just
picture
posted.
too.
I just posted the I pinned it to the space if you haven't seen
Perfect.
it. It's a great picture
It's an
with his feet
awesome
up on the
picture.
table and he's got
Yes.
the
But don't you
cigar in his
think
mouth.
that's his vibe? I mean, that's his vibe
For sure.
completely.
For sure. And and Nick took down, that's his fourth bracelet, which obviously starts to put him in pretty unique company.
Right.
And if you've listened to his commentary, the guy's just, I mean,
He's hilarious.
he's
I'm sorry.
hilarious, but yet like just
Very.
there's not many people like him that just
Yep.
kind of have that personality, but also like just serious, like I don't know, he's super intelligent,
Yeah,
so
and he's also very giving of his information and his knowledge base. He's a very giving person. Like, and he, when he's in the booth, he's very knowledgeable and shares that knowledge. But he also has some zingers and some jokes, and
it, it was
or
it,
he'll
it was
comments that
funny,
are
Sherry. You mentioned that, and both Doug Polk and Nick Schulman in their heads up, when they were in their heads up match, or I'm struggling with that because one was a heads up match, the other was a tournament. But
right,
what both with both of them heads up, they were like such, like, just gentlemen about how they
right.
were playing. I think both players kind of knew that they were up against it, and they were just at one point. I think Doug Polk was telling the guy, because the guy was saying, I'm out of my time banks and stuff. And he's like, well, just calm down or whatever. And there was a weird situation that came up, and he was just just being very accommodating,
Well,
like
and
that kind of
that's
thing.
that's a great. They're both great examples for other poker players, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah.
Because unfortunately the crazy ones get all the attention, right? And blow up the social media with their craziness,
Well,
which
Nick can be crazy.
we're all in for it. I mean, we're all here for it. Don't get me wrong. But it's also nice to see gentlemen playing poker and
Well,
it just being a great game to
and
watch.
neither one of them are doing the like robot stare down thing. They're
Right.
talkative, they're having fun, and playing a gentlemanly type style of play. So I really enjoyed both of those people, Nick and Doug, going down to the end there, and just showing what poker should be.
Amen.
too much focus, like you said, on nonsense in this world. So so yeah, that wrapped up yesterday, and Nick took down $110,800 along with, like I said, his fourth gold bracelet.
Amazing. Good for him.
So
Congrats,
I
Nick.
yeah, I just love I love it when the good guys win. Not that the second place player
100%.
wasn't good, but again, going back to the 10K Dealers Choice Championship, with obviously the story there for the moment is Evsledge
Chad.
maybe going, yeah, Chad Evsledge going back to back here in Dealers Choice events. He's got a chance to do it. He's actually the chip leader, and has actually been carrying the chip lead for a while as I was following it yesterday. So, if we're talking about my personal things, my buddy, my tag team partner, he's got to get in there, Dutch Boyd.
You
He's got to
might be
get.
a little biased, but it's allowable. He's a friend of yours.
I am biased,
It's
but
okay.
listen. If he gets a fourth bracelet, I'm gonna let him. You know, I'll let him take the lead there in the final stretches. I think,
You think?
yeah, four bracelets, no bracelets,
I think that's a good plan of action. He's on a roll. He's got
yeah.
a couple of bracelets in the jewelry box. I think your plan of action is excellent.
But at least I can sell the idea that I'm a no limit hold'em specialist.
I like it.
Right?
I like it. I
And
like it.
unless I'm playing against the person in fifth place in this mixed event, Ari Engel, because
Yeah.
he makes me look like not a specialist. Like that guy
He
straight up,
seems to be your nemesis, and you're his good luck charm.
yeah, he wiped the floor with me for sure. So
Well, let
yeah,
me ask you this. Are you done with, have you covered all the tournaments? Again, I was at the doctor, so I don't have all my homework done today, but I thought I would mention some of the other tournaments going on around town
yeah,
if
go
you
ahead and
were
do that.
done.
Perfect time to
Um,
do that.
Today at the Aria, today is Monday, at 11 a.m. is their 600 no limit 30K starting stack, 30-minute blinds, a 75K guarantee. That starts at 11 at the Aria. Then at the Orleans, which wish I was there because I really want to have a lesson in pineapple, and that's what I would call it if I played this tournament today. Because I certainly have only played it twice, but I want to play it, and I would pay the price of a tournament just for the experience. Monday at 11, which is today at 11, to $100 buy-in, is a no limit super stack 20K guarantee at the Orleans. At 4 p.m., there's a $240 crazy pineapple 10K guarantee, which I would definitely go to if I was in town, just because I want a lesson in crazy pineapple. At 7 p.m., they have a $200 buy in, no limit super stack with a 20K guarantee. So that's what's going on at the Orleans. At the Nugget and their Grand Series, they have 11 a.m. Omaha High Low 8 or better stud 8 20K guarantee for a $300 buy-in. At 1 p.m., they have a daily deep stack no limit 25K guarantee $200 buy-in. And at 7 p.m., they have their nightly no limit hold'em 5K guarantee for $130 buy-in. Do you have the Venetian or the Wynn or Resorts World? Hello. Turn your microphone on. Oh, he might have gotten a phone call. Oh, there he is.
Sherry, I'm a professional here. Clearly, I know what I'm doing. You know, um, I'm just kidding.
Oh, you
Uh,
just tickle my funny bone with that crap. Nothing
uh,
funnier
crap,
than
crap is
imitation.
exactly what it is.
Oh God.
So I have a couple of them. You said the Venetian.
Yeah, the Venetian or the Resorts World. Do you have their schedules?
So I have just some updates from them.
Okay.
That they're running the deep stack. So Venetian is running the deep stack championship poker series. Event number 19, day 1A, is a $1,600 no limit hold'em ultimate stack freeze out. 16 of 141 players remain in that, and day 1B will be today. I don't have here how many day ones they have in front of me, but day 1B is today at 11:10. So probably need to start heading that way if you're going to play that. And that is a $1,600 buy-in with a $750,000 guarantee. So that's what they're doing today, and I'm sure throughout this week. Let me see if I can pull up their full schedule here.
Okay.
Here we go.
If anybody'd like to come up and tell us how they're doing at the WSOP, or if they're planning to go there, in the near future, and want to tell us about what your plans are as far as what you're going to play, please press that request button in the bottom left and come talk with us. Thank you.
Or really important to that, Sherry, if you've been to the WSOP, maybe you're not going this year, or maybe you're going later. Want to hear your stories of who you played with and things like that. So it's really important that that people that can't make it out, like we they know what it's like. They hear your story. I don't want to hear your bad beat
I was
story.
just getting ready to insert that. I was like, wait, are you
Yeah,
inviting bad beat stories right
yeah.
now? No, we want to hear person to person stories.
Yeah, less about the poker and more about the story.
The
Who do you
journey.
who did you play with? Did you sit down with Phil Hellmuth and get you know berated about something? That's the kind of thing we're out after. But
Right.
anyway, speaking of that, Sherry, one of the cool things is, like, as the Player of the Year race has evolved, when the Player of the Year race kind of around 2011 or 12, at some point they switched the formula and they made it so that really you could just ignore all the things under 5K if you were like a high roller, and
Right.
you could just play the over. And I really thought that was terrible because it created two different World Series of Poker where you never saw these other people in the lower buy-ins. Now Phil Hellmuth, I can say, like, he would always play a lot of the different events, but some of the people didn't.
Right.
Yesterday Phil was in the $600 no limit tournament and actually finished with quite a bit in chips. I think 600,000. Did I read? Let me see. Yeah, Helmuth on bagged a healthy 665,000, and will be working to try to see if he can extend his bracelet lead um, in this event. So it's definitely cool. Like, when you come and play, you're playing a $600 tournament, and up walks Phil Hellmuth to sit down. And I
Could
would
you
say,
imagine if it was your first WSOP and Phil Hellmuth from, whatever, social media, however,
yeah,
ESPN, whatever, and the guy comes and sits at your table at your very first WSOP. Could you imagine the knees knocking?
yeah. I mean, like, honestly, one of the craziest experiences I ever had was I'm sitting there playing, and up walks Phil Ivey, and he sits down two seats to my right, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's Phil,
It's hard
it's
to
Phil
be a
Ivey.
yeah.
Like,
It's hard to not be a tourist at that point, right?
yeah,
That's what I call the tourist mode. That you're so enamored by something or someone around you that you've watched on TV or movie screen or whatever, that you now, instead of being your normal self, you're just a bumbling tourist.
yeah, I'm just a bumbling tourist. I,
Oh,
I used to tell people on the button, when they raised a lot, I tell them jack high or better, and we get it all in. So I tell Phil Ivey that. He takes off his earphone. He said, did you say Jack High? I go, yeah. And he goes, well, you'd be way ahead. Puts his earphone back in. Oh my goodness, that's too funny.
That's a great story.
Yeah. So today at the Venetian is day 1B of the $1,600 no limit hold'em ultimate stack freeze out, and then it looks like that's the last day one,
Okay.
because well, I don't know. It just, so I have Tuesday here as, yeah. So tomorrow is day 2 restart of the ultimate stack. So it looks like just two day ones of that tournament, and they'll be doing that day 2 tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Today starts at 11:10, and then um, and then they're also going to be running at 11:10 an $800. I'm sorry, that's tomorrow. Tomorrow they're going to be running an $800 no limit hold'em. I'm sorry, no limit hold'em ultimate stack day 1 tomorrow. So
Okay,
a
cool.
lot of deep events. Sorry about that. Was just
No,
kind of
it is
reading it.
okay. It is a lot to be trying to find information, read it out loud, trying to do the technology in these spaces. It's a lot. So don't, don't feel like you have to apologize. We are patiently waiting for you, sir.
Well, yeah, and that's a big thing for me. I want to be a source of information in this, so we want to come to this prepared. We spend a lot of time going through and things like that. The hard part and why we really started this is because there's kind of a lack of information early in the morning. So getting that all compiled together and
Right.
talking through it and that sort of thing with all of you
And
guys
we
is
just want to, make sure
key.
we give you the correct information. So if we're scrambling on air to check something, it's really because we want to make sure we're giving out the correct information. So, Poker Pro Eric, I accepted you as speaker. I don't know if um,
Yeah, he's got a picture of the plane loading up.
I don't
Eh,
know if Spaces is acting crazy or not, bud. So if you want to request again, I'll be happy to approve it again. I'm not sure what's going on. So
So
just want go
Sherry,
ahead.
he posted an update. He's at B12, wherever he is, and his flight leaves in about a half an hour for Vegas. He's inbound.
Woo, B12 sounds like a lucky bingo number. Let's go.
Seems like it. Um,
I had a couple of things, Brian, Sherry.
yeah.
One funny story is on Friday when I was playing the bounty. The player next to me was the one that won the bounty last year, the one that won 750. So he was happy to see that they put $1 million minimum
Oh,
on the winner. And he said that even though he won, he only had 4 or 5 bounties the whole tournament last year and didn't get anything higher than 5,000. So
oh, that would be disappointing if you had 5 bounties and you didn't at least get, I don't know, 100,000 or more, or even 50,000 or more. I think that would be so disappointing.
he said that every time he would knock a player out, that player would have like 10,000 left in chips, and someone else would just get the bounty, and he just said
Ugh.
that just kept happening. He had about 5 or 10 bounties like that. So
That's what happens to me. I cripple someone and then someone else swoops in and gets the bounty.
I,
There's nothing
I
worse.
I had a similar thing happen, Sherry. Like I knocked out um what's his name? I forgot his name. The guy that used to give out the books. Why is his name
oh,
escaping me?
Greenstein.
Yeah, I knocked Barry Greenstein out of the main event, and I'm like, "Where's my book?" And he's like, "Yeah, I stopped giving that out last tournament. People were trying to."
Oh,
I was like, "What are you talking about?
oh,
This is like that's the closest I've ever come to a bracelet, my friend. Come on."
oh, bummer. I feel
It
your
was pretty
pain.
fun.
That is funny.
And Poker News posts, no bracelet for Brian. Like it's like,
Oh, great. That's awesome. Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah. They're always there capture the sarcasm of the moment. So
They get paid. Hey, they get
whoa.
paid big bucks for that, brother.
So the 5K no limit hold'em freeze out, guys. I just want to say here, Robbie J. Lou is moving on to day 2 with 102,000. Maybe just maybe she knew something there with the Jack 4 and and that kind of thing. So she's on to day 2, hardly looking like if all of you know, she was selling at a discount. People made a big deal out of that. I didn't think it was a big deal. Like, if you want to sell for a discount, sell for a discount.
Yeah,
I,
it's
I, I
you
I don't
know,
know if she was being cheeky or not. She seems like somebody that likes to have fun, but but she's still in there in
good
the
luck to
five.
her.
Realize this. That's the 5K freeze out, Sherry. If for those of you that haven't played like anything over, say, a a 1500, even a 1500, so above 1500, so say like a 2500.
Right,
I was, and I haven't played, other than the main event, I haven't played a lot of events that were over
right.
1500. But there is definitely a skill level, that you see in that change in buy-ins. So
Well,
you
she's played poker a long time. I think when that whole Jack 4 incident happened,
yeah,
people were trying to make her sound like she was a beginner and she didn't know what she was doing. You know, it people didn't really know who she was because she was definitely not a beginner. And the proof is in the pudding. Here she is. There's 148 remaining in a 5K no limit freeze out, and she's one of them. So
yeah.
there you go.
And you know who else is in there is Josh Arier.
That's right.
He's got 436,000. Friend of the show.
Friend of the show, Josh. And the top stack's 796,000. So honestly, that
Yeah,
lead is not that ginormous that it can't be, taken down.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, lots of play left at that deepest stack, and that is the thing about these bigger buy-ins, is a lot of times you get more play and that kind of thing, but you're going to have people coming after you all day long. So it's not
Amen.
not an easy field. People are very competent, and it doesn't mean that you can't go in there and test yourself and come out and win the event. But you got to be ready to play your best, and probably get a little lucky, right, Sherry?
100%. The largest buy-in I've ever played is a 1500, and it was I don't know if you remember the story I told you when I met the magician the first time.
Oh yeah,
It was when I was playing that tournament, and I did it for the experience, right? I was like, I had been playing lots of tournaments, been to lots of circuit events, had been to the World Series a few years already. And I was like, you know what? This is the year I need to just like push my limit, do something that, I need just to change it up. And I'm going to tell you, I went out of that tournament. I, let me see how it was. I flopped deuces full of sevens. Okay. I was in the big blind. And I went out of that tournament in that hand because the guy turned sevens full of deuces.
yeah. What are you gonna do?
And what are you going to do? Right. But at the same token, when I left that tournament, I felt such a sense of accomplishment because I was one of the chip leaders the whole day. And,
Yeah,
and was it a different, I want to say level of player, but I also want to say it was a different atmosphere of players, and the whole atmosphere is so different. And so I get why you're saying when you go to a 5K it's different, and it just is, and I'm sure it is the higher you are in the buy-ins.
well,
And
and the other interesting thing, Sherry, is even if you are at a lower buy-in, you come to day 2 or especially day 3 of a tournament. Let's exclude the main event because it's so giant. But if you get to day 2 or day 3 of a tournament at the World Series, you're going to walk in and know a lot of the players that you're playing with. The tag team is actually the funniest because you on day 1 a lot of times you don't see all these. You're playing with like Bob from what is
It's
Dan say? Bob from
Poughkeepsie.
Poughkeepsie or whatever, and then
Will.
all of a sudden, his partner, Phil Ivey walks in,
Yeah.
or
Right.
whatever, and he's like, "What?" And it's actually become really an interesting event because these people, that these people that are these people that are not there initially, are suddenly there. You have people that aren't well-known players on day 1, and then day 2 you're sitting there with like all kinds of people. So
Right.
it's crazy.
And
Right. I love
for
tag
people
teams.
for people that want a shot to take, there is a 2,700 satellite to get you into the 25,000 high roller tomorrow. So you never know. You can always take a shot at it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
even those satellites, Raj, a lot of times you go over there and they're tough too, but you can, I've won my way into events plenty of times with through satellites, and
Heck yeah.
definitely you
Hey,
have a
I
good mix.
2 years ago, I took a shot. I played a 500 satellite, won a seat to the 5K satellite, played that, and ended up getting a seat into the 50K high roller, and ended up cashing. So anything could happen for any player. You can run pretty well for 2 days, and against the best player in the world, and make it in. So anything
Way
can
to
happen in
spin
these
it up,
tournaments.
though. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I definitely like satellites, and I think there's a really good strategy for satellites. And if you have some strategy, if you read a little bit of material on how to play satellites, you have a little bit of edge in these fields. So
Yeah,
Well, and I'm
exactly.
glad you brought up the satellites. I think we should go over those. So tomorrow is the 25K high roller no limit mega satellite. Or is today the 5th? I'm sorry, I'm all screwed up. That's on June 5th. Is today the 5th? So that's at 6 p.m., $2,700 buy-in. The net prize pool, multiples of 25K, entries into the high roller event. Then on June the 8th, there's a 50K high roller no limit mega satellite, $625 buy-in mega satellite at 3 p.m. The net prize pool is multiples of 5,300. Uh, $5,300 for entries into the mega at 6 p.m. that night. And then there's the $5,300 buy-in mega satellites at 6 p.m. The net prize pool, multiples of 50K, entries into the high roller event. That's June 8th. Those are events going on. On June 11th, 100,000 high roller, no limit mega satellite. They have a $120 buy-in mega satellite at 12 p.m. The net prize pool multiples of $850 entries into the 2 p.m. mega. The $850 buy-in mega satellite at 3 p.m. The net prize pool multiples of $7,500 entries into the 6 p.m. mega. And finally, the $7,500 buy-in mega satellite at 6 p.m. Net prize pool multiples of $100,000 entries into the high roller event. So I'm going to just stop. There's more, but I'll stop there, and we can go over the other ones later in the week. But that takes you through June 11th.
Yeah, and just getting underway just now, the $600 buy-in pot limit Omaha deep stack started at 10 o'clock. And last year that got 2,800 entries with a first prize of 199,000. They're actually expecting a pretty big turnout for that event. Obviously not 6,000 like yesterday. cherry,
Right.
but for a PLO event, it should be pretty solid event. So
Well, and I didn't hear anything from Alan yesterday or last night. I guess he didn't have his 101st cash yesterday, huh?
yeah,
Any go?
I saw him on the coverage last night, and I think he was watching the 25K. They showed him on the rail over there.
Okay.
So I don't
So
think
maybe he'll get that 101st WSOP cash today.
I want to see him just run it up. You know, Alan takes a lot of grief
Yes.
for how kind he is. You know, you could always count on events that had the Alan Kessler approval. You were ready to go, and that really that really created a good place in my heart for the guy. He's just a solid guy. He
Well,
really helped.
I think that it's his time to win a bracelet this year. Like this dude has been grinding for so many years. It's just time for him to get a bracelet.
How big is that winner's photo, you think?
Ginormous.
And here's the better question: where does Alan take everyone for dinner afterwards?
Roma Deli.
Roma Deli for
Roma Deli.
for free sodas,
Free
right?
sodas at Roma Deli. uh,
Yeah.
we love it.
So
Good luck to him.
how crazy will it be if Chad Ivslage wins this
Back
dealer's choice?
1500 first and now this 10K dealer's choice, that would be amazing. Like, dude, like go get some sleep and enter the next one because you're on a roll. Don't stop.
Yeah, and he's got to be up there in POI points as
Oh,
well. This
yeah.
being, just tomorrow is tomorrow is a week into the series and two super deep runs and at least. So, but a long way to go in that, even though they're down to the end here, with 13 players left. These people are like not just pushovers. John Hennigan, Dutch Boyd, Scott Bowman, James Ols,
Oh,
Paul Volpe, Dustin Durskin, Jordan Siegel, Marco Johnson, Ryan Giadu, and Chad Eveslage, Zach Freeman, Ari Engel, and Mike Gorig. I always like butcher this one. Gorodinsky.
Gorodinsky. Gorodinsky.
And the guy's
Oh.
been around for a long time too, and I've heard it a million times, but it's just one of those things I always struggle with his name. So
Well, I wanted to, if you're finished with
yeah,
that,
yeah,
okay. I wanted to remind everybody that Ebony Kennedy is doing the Summer Booty Blitz of 2023. And what she's doing is, and you can go over to her Twitter because um, every day she is going to give a clue as to where she hid um, the booty token. And it is a, card protector. And she's going to give a hint of where she hid it at the WSOP. And if you find that booty token, she's going to give you 1% of the tournament of that day. And so you have to post a video of you finding the token. So it's just kind of a fun, a fun sweat for the summer. Find the token, folks.
it's cool that when people do stuff like that and create fun around different things. I remember back in the day, Negreanu having these tournaments. He'd literally have his followers to his house and things like that. He'd have these raffles or different ways that he would give away a trip to Vegas. And, it's cool that people do different stuff like that. And the thing is, like, not everybody is that's a poker fan is going to be able to make it out to the WSOP,
Right.
and so if you can share that experience with people, in not a way where you're whining and complaining about how many bad beats you took, but
Right.
the positive stories and stuff like that. If you guys were on when Alan Keating was on, and I asked him, here's a guy that's played millions of dollars in cash games, and won and lost millions, and mostly lost. No, I'm just kidding. But here's a guy that's played super high stuff, and for as much as you see these people that win a lot of money and don't really have any kind of reaction to it. When I asked him to tell me a story about the main event or anything about the World Series, you could just feel like the experience with him and him taking him back, and how special it was to run deep in the main event. And I remember he was saying that they caught him on camera because his mom had showed up with the
Right.
family and everything, and he turns and says, "Mom, I'm all in." And Norman Chad tells him, or Norman Chad on the thing says, "Oh, how cute! He has to ask his mom when he goes all in."
It was such a great moment in poker.
Yeah, I never lived down, Sherry, when Norman Chad told me that Lex Valhouse hornswoggled me, which I didn't even know that was like a word. I don't know where he gets these words from, but apparently it is a word, and uh, I definitely did get hornswoggled.
Well, and I don't think I ever heard that word until he used it. And
Yeah.
I haven't heard that word since. You just reminded me of it. So, we got to thank Norm for his uniqueness. And, talk about a guy in a booth that is just, I just love listening to,
He's the best. I mean,
yeah,
him and Lon, and what they've done for poker over the years, just really giving that pathway for people to come along that
right,
that add their own kind of vibe to it. But these are the guys that really took us into the poker boom, and have been successful at it over the years, and in making poker relatable. Like, that's the
right,
biggest thing. We can talk all we want about, like, what we would like to see in a broadcast, but the reality is, what we would like to see in a broadcast isn't necessarily what the casual viewer would like to see. And we need the casual viewer to be able to make poker go into the mainstream again. And if we
right.
don't get that, then we've got big problems. So
Well, and you have to give them credit because, as you alluded to, they paved the road. And I've heard people mumble that we got to get other people in there and blah blah blah. Well, if you're too young to get some of the jokes that they're laying on the pavement, that's your problem. That's a you problem. And maybe if you looked up some history in your life, you might be able to relate to what they're saying as part of poker history. Because they have paved the way. That is for sure. And they have entertained us for many years. And, as well as the newbies on the block, like a Nick Schulman or whatever. I think everybody matters and everybody brings a different flavor to the table. And I enjoy them all. Like, I love it. I want more of it.
yeah, the speaking of that, the $600 pot limit Omaha deep stack cards are in the air with that. There are currently 1,000 entrants already, so that's a pretty
Wow.
good size field. I think, what did I say? I think 1,900 or something for last year. So 15 minutes in, that's a pretty good start. I think they're right
You
that
know,
it's going to be
when
pretty
you
big.
said that, all I could think of is, man, is the WSOP going to run out of dealers? Like, these numbers are incredible. Like, how are they going to keep up with this demand for another, what, 6 weeks? Five, yeah, I guess almost 6 weeks. That's a lot of tables.
Yeah, and I'm told that going into it, they did not expect to have to use overtime. So it sounds like they got a lot of dealers, and they're ready to go. But the thing is, like, it's just such a moving target. I think the way that they've been able to get dealers is because the pay actually is pretty good. From what I understand, it's $12.50 an hour, which isn't a lot, but you get $15 per down. and a down is a half an hour, I believe. So
Yes, it
that
is.
would be $42.50 an hour. I think it's $10 more than that if you can deal mixed games. So, in some of these circumstances, dealers are making, upwards of $50 an hour when, at least when they're dealing. Obviously, there's a problem if they're not dealing, right? Like between
But
them, they're getting
right.
12.50.
And we have to remember and be reminded that they have to pay for their own housing. So
Yeah,
if they
that's true.
have a Las Vegas resident and they come in town to deal, they have to pay for whatever housing they decide to have, whether it be rent a condo, stay on property, whatever their deal is. They're paying for that out of pocket. So even though they may make 42.50, whatever, a
Yeah.
drop, blah blah blah, they're still paying a nightly rate to stay somewhere. So it's not easy for them.
I was thinking of teaching Abby to shuffle some cards and getting her out there on the felt, but
You're
first
such
she's
a slave driver.
first she's got to learn what the small blind is and what call means,
Point well
and,
made. First,
and
she
she's
needs to learn.
she's not the most deck style kind of person that can just shuffle cards and things like that. So
Okay, so the key here is A, she needs to play free poker online to learn the mechanics of the game.
that's
B,
right.
while she's doing that, she needs to have a deck of cards in her hand that she just keeps shuffling.
Yes, that is a good point. Yeah.
Hey,
So
hey Brian, you
yeah,
guys
go
were
ahead.
talking about Kessler and his 100 cash. I was kind of curious about the list, so I pulled it up, and
Perfect.
obviously there's a difference between online and live caches. In online, if you include online and live, then Negrano is number one. But if it's just live, then Helmuth is number one. But what's interesting is Kessler's like 14th or something, but the number two guy on the list, Roland Idrisvili, he's got about 157 caches, no bracelet, which is really, really
Wow.
unfortunate for him that he hasn't won one. I mean, everyone else on the list, Helmuth, Negranu, Ferguson, Greenstein, Deeb, obviously they've got multiple bracelets, but the number two, he's still looking for his first bracelet.
Yeah, and I wanted to say too, just some an update from Kev Math here. The 5K no limit hold'em 8-handed freeze out that starts at 1 p.m. He's saying that Paris is listed on those, but that there's horseshoe table numbers. So he's going out on a limb and saying that it probably will be being played over in the horseshoe.
So
But
definitely check that before you go over. Maybe he'll have another update in a few minutes.
yeah, and he says, I need to give myself a pro tip, hashtag pro tip. When in doubt, ask someone. And, again, if you're coming in there for day two, don't be late. So you have to account for things like that. You show up at the wrong place. You got to walk from casino to casino. That takes you another 5-10 minutes.
Traffic before you
Uh,
get there.
if somehow you end up in that place, just get there as soon as you can and try to calm down, not walk in there and let that affect your decision making process, especially on a day two. If you can get to a day two of a WSOP event, obviously the first big thing is a lot of times you're in the money, but walking into day two is just such a special feeling. Like you know, it feels special, honestly.
And
Like
it should.
I
You
don't
worked
mean to be
hard.
sappy. Yeah.
Well, it should because you worked hard to get there. I mean, you should be proud of that moment. You spent many hours to get there, and it's awesome. And you should absolutely drink in that moment.
Yeah, and that's really important too. I remember in the main event when I drew the feature table on day one, I was thinking, don't be nervous, just have fun. Like, when else can a pretty chubby guy get on ESPN playing playing
Oh God.
playing in the championship? Like nowhere else. I'm never doing that in any other type of sport. So
Well, and you need to be proud of all your moments in poker or anywhere else in life. You worked hard to get there, whether people know it, realize it, or care. I mean, just be proud of yourselves.
Yeah. So make sure that you get there early, and sometimes things are going to be moved around. There's these big fields that are happening. I don't know how they anticipated. What did I say? 6,000 for that event yesterday.
Right.
Um, I can't imagine they thought that No Limit event was the Deep Stack was going to be a 6,000 players come through there.
What a good
Just on
problem to have, huh?
just on the heels of the previous few days, 18,000 coming through there. It's just absurd. Those numbers just keep going up, Sherry. Think about years past at the Rio. The kind of common number would be about 3,000.
Right.
So
Right.
seeing them hit 6,000, and we're talking about weekend events and things like that, but obviously during the week things slow down a little bit. There's less people around, but it's just, I think they're going to break all kinds of records this year for sure.
100%. And it's exciting. And I think that adds to the excitement that, you know what? We're breaking records with attendance and all the stories of the journeys of people getting there and their journey while they're there, and it's exciting. And I look forward to every day. This What's the story of today? To me, part of the story of today, not only our winners and those moving on to day two, but and our certainly our mega uh um our mystery bounty folks pulling $1 million winners, right? But it also is that story of Rob Kuhn talking about his chip stack not being there when he returned to the table, and that happened to two guys at the same time. So it's all about those stories, and that's to me makes the whole thing the WSOP. Yeah, the poker, yes, that's the number one part of it. But those stories, those daily human stories.
One thing I want to say here is, speaking of the numbers of people playing this year, if they're able to break the record for most players in the main event, they're going to have a drawing for, and everyone's who's in the main event is eligible for 30 years of main event buy-ins for free.
You get a main event buy-in for the next 30 years of your life. How cool is that? If and only thing to get that drawing to take place is that we have to beat the numbers from last year. And I think that's going to be very easy to do.
We just called up Any two. Do you have any comments, questions,
Yeah, hi guys. I
stories?
do have one question for you and a little shared experience or shared whatever you want to call it. But I'm going up on Friday. I shot take every so often. I got two young kids now, a 4-year-old and 1-year-old. So I missed the last two, but I've been playing cash for a while, tournaments for a while. So I just want to kind of tell everybody, like, if you do that, it's very easy to get overwhelmed in so many tournaments here and there. And I mean, I'm a DJ, and I literally play from sun up to sundown all through the night, hop all over. In the past, not do as much cash as that I should do, and that's kind of what I wanted to jump on, as well as my question for you afterwards. But make sure you play. If you do make some money in cash normally, make sure you dedicate some time to play some cash, because I mean, you can get wrapped up in tournaments. It can eat your bankroll up pretty quick. So if you are a cash game player as well, make sure you dedicate some time to grind up some cash. um, and then the question I have for you guys, as I'm hopping all over, staying different places, I heard you guys yesterday saying about the monorail. I am staying at MGM the first 3 nights. Can I hop on it there, or did you say I had to go to?
Yeah,
Yes.
You can go from the MGM right down to
yeah,
the
and,
Horseshoe.
yeah,
Yes.
and the MGM, the entrance to the monorail is going to be, you're going to go through the mall. area there with all the food near the food court area.
Okay.
And it'll be really easy. It's $6 each way, or there's a pass for I can't remember the pass. The 24-hour pass is just a little more than a round
Yeah.
trip. And then there's multi-day passes and things like that. So if you're staying for like a week or something like
Yeah.
that, might be better to do that. But
It
definitely,
is definitely the way to go.
Well,
The
that's what's
monorail is definitely the
that's
way to
what's so
go.
awesome about these spaces, because I just jump on because I like listening to different things and whatnot. But I mean, I go and I sometimes drive. This time I'm flying, but I mean, just because I'll be so dead, I'm going for 12 days. I'll be so dead afterwards. I don't want to. I'm from Arizona, so I really don't want to do that drive. But helpful things like that. I knew about the monorail. I just didn't really know where you can jump on and this and that. But so that was super helpful, and just some positive energy and play the monster stack,
you're gonna win it.
gladiator. Maybe we'll, if we do that 600 PLO half, the 800s.
Where
But
is Monster Stack?
hopefully, if
So you're gonna be there. You're gonna be there for at least a week,
yeah, I'm gonna
right?
be there from the 9th to the 20th, 9th to the 20th. So
Okay, you got to promise me
mm-hmm.
something. You got to promise me, if you're not sleeping in, that when you're up in the morning, if it's going to be 9 a.m. or after, we're going to come on at 9 a.m. every day.
Okay.
Is our goal. You come and give us an update of how you're
All right,
doing.
I'll give you some
Yeah,
updates.
sure.
Now after the 5th or 6th day, I might not be, in that, but we'll
And
see.
that's
But
hey,
but
that's why
no, but
I started.
but no, yeah, I'll definitely jump on, and yeah, hopefully if I can do some things in between, then I'm gonna shot take into maybe the 2K or the 3K that's in the middle of the week. Also, a couple other good ones that I don't know if you guys have covered. If not, I've jumped on, heard you guys uh, the last few days, but not the whole time. But there's a good one at the Venetian, which is a $2,500 one. They have a $300 satellite. It's a really unique ultimate bounty one, where the first day, the bounties, you get bounties for the first day that's worth $500. The second day bounties are worth $5K. So that's kind of a cool one. And it's a
Nice.
million guarantee, not for first, but the whole prize pool. So that'll be a good one. And then the Win is also having a 1,600 $2 million event in the middle of the week. And they also have a satellite for 300. So there's a couple other good ones if any of the listeners want to take a shot at a satellite, or just jump in.
Thank
Yeah.
you. We appreciate you sharing that info. And, when I started my comment about you coming for updates, I started it with, if you're still sleeping
Right.
in, we're not worried about you.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I'll jump in from time to time. I appreciate you guys. You guys doing an awesome job. Like I said, it's very informative. It's fun to listen to, but also, people learn different things like that. Like I was like, oh shoot, that monorail, I need to just take that, because will be a lot better than Ubering, and so.
Yeah,
And you know what? That's the whole point of why Brian and I are doing this.
Awesome.
the other thing.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to mention, Any, too, is that when you get off, you're going to get off at Paris Horseshoe. I want to call it Paris Bally's, but you're going to get off at Paris Horseshoe stop. But make sure that you follow the signs, because you're going to follow the signs to the Horseshoe is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Because when I went the first time, I was trying to get to Paris, so I had that in my brain, and I was like, I went down this way, and I ended up like outside of the monorail station in the back of the Paris, and
You had to walk all the way around.
yeah, it was just not a very good place to
Well,
be.
that's good info too, because like I said, I missed the last two because I got the two young kids, so I don't get to go out every year anymore. But
Yeah, you'll
have
you'll enter at the back of the Horseshoe there, and it's pretty close. You just walk through the food court area, and it's really easy. I would save some extra time anyway. Like those trains come every 11 minutes, roughly, right?
Yep.
I
Yep.
And
say
how late do they go? How
roughly
late do
11.
they go? Are they 24 hours?
They go till like during the week. They go till not crazy late. I had it
1
right.
or 2 a.m. It's like 1 or 2 a.m. So you want to definitely check that. And you may
Yeah.
want to take a screenshot of the schedule. because they do shut down for a few hours in the wee hours of the morning.
Okay, and they only go on the strip though, right? They don't go downtown if you go to the Nugget or anything, they don't go there, right?
It goes between MGM and Sahara.
Okay.
If you know where that is.
Yep, perfect. Well, yeah.
So
And if you wanted to go to
basically,
Resorts World, you would get off at that Sahara train station, so to speak, monorail station, and walk over to Resorts World. So just a little hint about
Yeah,
that.
I might do some cash over there, but yeah, I'm gonna be all over. So I'll do some updates because I'm gonna, that the Nugget has a good $200K in that time frame too. So there's 3 flights a day on that, 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 7 p.m. I believe.
I was looking at that this morning. That's always a good series to go up.
They always smash those guarantees, those smaller ones like that. They smash them. So
yeah, but unfortunately at the Nugget, they're also the highest rate.
Yeah.
So be aware.
For sure.
And that is a good point, Sherry, because I was saying this the other day at my table at the Horseshoe, is that it's nice that there's so many different options around town, because I feel like that's kind of kept the World Series in check to say, well, we just can't go crazy with things, even though the rake is pretty high, but the reality is they're within kind of some boundaries, right? They're just not the only game in town for everything. I want to just get to the hours of the monorail: 7 a.m. to midnight on Monday, 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. on Tuesday through Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is 7 a.m. to 3 a.m. So I didn't have a lot of problems because I don't run that deep usually. So
oh my God.
Yeah, I'm gonna mix half cash is my goal to do. At least do it, since the late regs are so late too, which is nice. I'm gonna try to get in cash every day, at least three, at least 30 to 40% of the time. But I just wanted to thank you guys. Appreciate the positive energy. My name's actually Brian as well.
Oh, nice
so
to meet you.
If we go deep and do something, I'll
do it.
give you my last name too. But then you can sweat it. But I
Thank
appreciate
you,
you guys.
Brian.
Yep.
Yeah.
You guys have a good one. Mm-hmm.
Appreciate you.
The thing is about the cash games, Sherry, is you always want to get to the point where you're playing kind of late and whatever, but not too late, because the worst feeling in the world is to walk out of a casino and seeing the sunrise and you're just like,
well, you know what I call that? I
goodness.
call that walking out of the bat cave.
Yeah.
And because it's like, I'm blind, right? I'm blind because you've been in the dark cave or the dark casino, and then the light of the sun is so blinding.
And especially if you've kind of lost track of time and you walk out and you're like, what the heck? It's like when you fell asleep, you said the other night, and woke up and didn't know what day it was. And
exactly.
It was really still the same day. That's
exactly. Well, if nobody else has any comments or questions or stories, I think we could wrap it up, Brian.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah, we want to keep this kind of, reasonable. Yesterday we went 5 hours. I think is a bit long.
That is not our goal. Like 1 to 2 hours has been our goal, and of course, yesterday there was some things going on, and so it, carried us about 5.5 hours. I don't even know, but
that's way
anyway, we appreciate you listening, folks.
Yeah,
Hey, Sherry.
Yeah.
Yes.
The only thing I wanted to point out was on the main event promotion, it's if you beat the 2006 record of 8,773 entries.
Oh, we thought it was last year. So thank you.
No. Total. Yeah, the total.
So the highest,
the highest ever.
The highest.
Which I think they're going to break. What did we have last year, Raj? Do you know?
We got pretty close to like 86. So it was pretty close to the record.
It was like 8,300 or something, right? So 82, somewhere in there, I think. So I remember them thinking we might make it, but it seemed like they weren't, and then all of a sudden they got really close. So
I'm gonna just go out on a limb, and I like to push the numbers. I'm gonna say we're gonna go over 10,000 this year.
Wow, that would be insane.
I'm just gonna tell you.
I mean, I think it's reasonable to say we're definitely going to beat the record. I mean, I'm not going to give you 30 main event buy-ins if we don't, but
Yeah, I think
Like-
we're going to beat the record as well, for sure, this year.
Like for funsies, we're going to beat the record.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
No doubt
anyway.
about it.
All right, everybody, we'll see you tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific time. Let us know what you're playing this week. Come on up, ask your questions, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Thank you.